Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm Coach Jolie, and today I'm joined by Coach Tara and Coach Adam. And today we are going to be chatting about carbohydrates and why they are not the enemy, which we've kind of been led to believe. But before we dive in, we want to talk about a member of the week, somebody who's been just so consistent with her workout schedule, travel, work. She just recently started doing some nutrition coaching with me. She's been really locking in. Angie Gunther, we want to shout her out. She's been locking in. She's been making sure that she's getting at least her 3 workouts in every week. She's been integrating some new habits with her nutrition. One of them adding in more carbohydrates because she's had some low energy levels recently. So want to give a shout out to Angie.
Congratulations, Angie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She's just such good energy. She makes time for it. Like, she'll come here straight from the airport. She'll be like, oh my God, I just got off of a plane, working out at 2 p.m. Sometimes she makes it at like 8 or 9 a.m. and she's just so locked in. So way to go, Angie.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, guys. So carbohydrates. Where do we begin? I feel like the past few weeks, we've driven home the point of like, let's up your protein in your diet. Let's make sure that we're fueling the muscles in your body. And today we want to make sure that we're honing in on carbohydrates, how they're important, how they can impact your workouts, your energy levels, things like that. So, Tara, let's start with you. What do you have to say about carbohydrates? Why do carbs matter? Let's start there. Why are they not the enemy?
Well, the biggest thing about carbs, with them not being the enemy, is that carbs are your body's primary fuel source. That is the first thing that the body breaks down into that simplest form. If you don't know, one of the sugars, glucose, it breaks it down, and that's what the body uses as fuel for your body, for overall function. So that's why it's I wouldn't say the most important, but out of the 3 macros, it is highly important because it is that primary fuel source.
Yep. I feel like that leads into your goals, like then in your workouts and in your workout program, because then you need to obviously align that with if you're prioritizing building muscle, losing body fat, that can all contribute to when and how much carbohydrates you are getting throughout the day. So I think timing is something that we get asked about a lot in the gym, because obviously, some people fall into working out pretty much, they're morning people. They always work out in the morning. Some are the afternoon, and then there's like a handful that can kind of bounce back and forth. And I think they're probably the ones that maybe either ask the most or are more uncertain because their schedule's a little more like fluctuating. So I think we should get into like when you should preferably have carbs or make sure that you're getting enough so that you can have like good performance during your workouts. So I think let's talk about before and after.
Yeah, let's talk about like before and after, timing, simple carbs, complex carbs. I think people just get kind of confused, an overall sense of like, what's a carb? What's good for me? What's going to be bad for me? What's going to kill my workout and things like that. So, Tara, what's a simple carbohydrate and when should you eat one before a workout?
So simple carbs are the ones that are easily broken down. Think of your breads, your fruits. There's some dairy in that. Simple carbs are a quick fuel source because the body breaks them down quickly. It gets to the energy quicker. So those are the ones that you use when you're short on time. So you realize, I haven't eaten all day. I have a workout in an hour, 30 minutes. What can I eat quickly that my body will give me the energy that I need to get through this workout? That's when you not even preferably, but that's when you would see yourself eating a simple carb. Because it's like, again, that quick energy source that you would need in a short amount of time. So have enough to get through what I need to do right now. That's what I see the simple carb for.
And oftentimes not filling either.
It's not filling, so it's going to go through you really quickly.
You're not going to have like that bloating sensation when you're working out. So you're not going to feel bogged down or, not in a good state or condition to exercise. So I think sustained energy, you get sustained energy from those carbs, I mean complex carbs, in a little bit of like a earlier window, maybe even up to 2 hours before you'd get your complex carbs. So a little bit more like your rices and things like that can be filling. But you're planning for that a little bit farther out ahead of time, not so quick as like the simple carbs, because they're going to be built for the sustained energy. So it's a little bit more mapped out, but either way, the goal is to make sure you are essentially fully charged up, ready to go for your workout. You know, people talk about fasting workouts a lot. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but for me personally, it's hard to do. I feel like I need to have at least some kind of simple carb because for that reason, some kind of energy source.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're working out at 5 a.m., which like none of us are, but I think it's
only coaching at that
only
coaching at that hour, right? Yeah, but if you're working out, like let's say you want to eat something, you're eating breakfast at 8 a.m. and you're a person who works out at 10 a.m. Adam, what would be like a good breakfast? What kind of complex carbohydrates should people be looking at?
I mean, oats, like a lot of people have oatmeal because it's satiating, but enough time, far enough ahead of when you're planning to work out. So breads or toasts, things like that can fill you, but you have enough time to digest them, like a safe window. So, oatmeal is not high in sugar because sugar can also give you like that, kind of laggy, lethargic feeling with crashes and things like that. So you want whatever your complex carbs are, you want to make sure that they're low in sugar. So you don't run into a crash because then it kind of works, inverse to what you're trying to get out of it's counterproductive to what you want the carbs to do. Like they could just come back and smack you in the face with a crash, like right when you're ready to work out.
Yeah.
So check on the sugars when you're having your complex carbs. You don't want like a super sugary breakfast. And if you're planning, to work out in the morning. So I always say like oatmeal's some form of oats. Maybe that's a protein shake that has granola or oats in it, something like that. In that window, that 1 to 2 hour window.
Yeah.
Good example, I think.
Yeah, Tara, I think you and I were talking about different breakfasts earlier, and we were like toast with and adding like a little bit of protein into that too. Yeah, like a scrambled egg with toast or something like that, just so that we're making sure that we're getting that complex carb, that little bit of extra fiber. It's going to help keep you fuller longer. Like you mentioned, we're going to have that time to digest those 1 to 2 hours before that window. Anything else that you like 1 to 2 hours before a workout?
I do like adding the protein because it's also that satiating feeling that you can get. Yeah. So you can have the energy from the carbs, and then you can have that protein that'll help with that satiation of feeling. And it's also both of them together are beneficial before that workout as well.
Yeah.
So you're able to benefit from both getting your protein started for the day, but also having those carbs to help you get that energy for that workout.
Yeah, and early in the day, I think insulin is more sensitive. So your carbohydrates are used more effectively, more efficiently. So kind of inverse to like when people have like large meals at night, right? So like insulin sensitive early in the day, probably going to use your macros more efficiently. Whereas, if you have big meals late at night, especially if you're not one of these people that works out late at night, not going to be super effective, and you're going to essentially unused what will be glucose, and that's where people run into problems with not being able to exert that energy or expend that energy late in the day. So insulin's something to keep in mind too.
Yeah, and something I've noticed too with just chatting with people on the training floor about carbs, and you check in with members of like, hey, how are your workouts feeling? Especially we're in an endurance phase now. People are exerting a lot of energy. It's higher reps, it's light weights. Something that I've noticed people saying is like, oh, I'm experiencing like they're wanting to reach for that cup of coffee in the afternoon, or they're feeling like that little bit of like an energy dip in the afternoon where they're noticing like, okay, like something's up here. Their sleep's feeling a little messed up. And so to me, one of the things that can impact that, right? Like we're not doctors. There can be a million reasons, but one of the things I've noticed is people are they're under fueling, and that can be a common reason. So other than like, what are some other ways that we can tell people are maybe not eating enough carbs during the day, or something like where they're feeling a sense of fatigue? Are there any other things that we've noticed or that you guys would point out?
I think kind of getting back a little bit to, it's not, depending on what type of carb it is, it could boost like serotonin levels late at night, which could lead to better sleep, which could lead to more energy the next day potentially. So again, things kind of like the morning a little bit, like oats or like sweet potatoes, things like that late at night, an hour or so before bed, that can boost serotonin and improve your sleep. So it could be a combination of just making sure that your sleep is good. And then like, I always tell people, like, I think the timeline approach is the most, not tangible, but most conceptually, like, people just understand it the best. So I think if they can start to ingrain or start to form habits that way and like look at the day as a timeline, that's probably the best. I think that's how I try to explain it to at least people on the floor when time's limited.
So timing, you're saying just the timing of carbs in a general sense is going to be what's going to kind of make or break the energy levels for their day, right? Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're like, when you have a workout too, like, people think like you're going to be absolutely smoked after a workout, tired and stuff like that. That's not always the case. You can be, your energy can be boosted, brain function, focus can be a lot higher post-workout than it was pre-workout. So I think just going into a workout with proper nutrition and then following it up with post-workout carbs too as like a start as your recovery and like refueling
and restoring.
You don't want to not have anything, of course, after your workout. Like, protein is obviously prioritized, like we drill that home, but you need to refuel your other macros as well. Yeah.
Tara, I feel like you got some words to say on refueling.
No, I was just thinking like how you mentioned the protein, having that after the workout. Yes, that's important, but also with the carbs, that's also the refueling that you need. Your body had the stores that it used or that it had, what you ate before, you just used that in the workout.
Yeah, muscle glycogen.
Think of your battery. You were fully charged when you got here. You probably depleted that storage when you worked out. So now you're running on zero, and it's like, don't forget that you do have to recharge that battery.
Yeah.
And recharging that battery is just not going to come from protein. Right. Again, that's not your primary fuel source.
Yeah.
That's not where your body's going to gravitate to first. So you do need to take time to get that carb back into your body to get that battery recharged after your workout.
Yeah.
So you don't have that dip in energy throughout the day. You have refueled yourself. So now that I can get through my day or until my next meal.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that too, we were talking about everybody's been super focused on their protein. I know a lot of the members listening to this podcast are like, oh my God, I've gotten my protein numbers up. It's awesome. What's going to happen, Tara, if somebody's just focusing on protein before a workout? Getting a little science, a little techie here.
So with that, the biggest thing is if the body does not have those carbs to pull from, it's going to start pulling from other sources. And your two main other sources are going to be that protein and fat.
Fats, yeah.
Yes, everyone's like, yeah, I want my fat to go and stuff like that. But the process to get the fat broken down takes time. So you're going to feel lethargic during the workout. And then that's counterproductive to what you want to do. Because if you don't have the energy stores, now your body's breaking down those proteins and those fats. The muscle that you're wanting to build, protein is used to build muscle. So if the body is pulling those protein away, you're doing the opposite of what you to do. You're breaking down the muscle to get that energy that you want.
Breaking down the muscle.
So now you're losing muscle mass instead of gaining the muscle mass.
Yeah.
So it's counterproductive to what you want without having those carbs.
Right.
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
Pass.
Amazing. Guys, anything we're forgetting about carbs, just driving home the point that, like, they're not the enemy. We need them. They're an energy source. They're essential to hormonal health, adrenal health, all the things, especially as we age, energy. Anything that we haven't touched on?
I would guess the biggest thing is for time the myth that carbs convert to fat. Like, that's going to make me fat if I eat too many carbs. Yes, if you eat too many is the biggest part of that surplus, excess. If you're eating what your body needs, it will not turn into fat because your body has now used it. It's not storing it.
Yep.
So as long as it's not in surplus, not eating too much of it, then you'll be fine.
And to make sure you're not getting too much of it, stay consistent with your workouts because that's going to be the best way to use them effectively.
Use that energy.
So stay consistent with workouts and you should be fine.
Boom. Well said, guys.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome, guys. Make sure you're getting your carbs, your protein, healthy fats, and we'll be back next week with more great stuff.
Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.